Now, it's not polite to scam luxury hotels while role-playing a German heiress, and it's positively cruel to grift everyday investors with your sham cryptocurrency exchange. But it's rare to find a scammer with a scheme so heinous, so brazenly exploitative as Belle Gibson, the Australian influencer who convinced the world she had cancer and built an empire off her fake wellness cures. Her story, fictionalized in a recent Netflix series, is the type of train wreck you just can't help but rubberneck. So let's get into it. It was 2009 when 20-year-old mother of one, Belle Gibson, was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer and given 4 months to live. Psych, nothing of the sort happened. But we'll get into that. 3 years later, Gibson launched her Instagram account @HealingBelle. Her profile read, Belle Gibson, game changer with brain cancer, plus a food obsession. Her post contained now familiar health influencer fare, recipes for organic meals, photos of juices, and inspirational quotes like, your dreams belong to you, remember that. #meaningless, #basic. Like any influencer worth their salt, she posted selfies. Except hers had captions like, quote, I feel like I'm dying, ... and I'd know. Unlike most influencers, she also posted crank medical advice, like claiming that an Australian plum high in vitamin C was capable of healing cancer. Photogenic and savvy, Gibson accrued tens of thousands of followers, and the girl did not snooze on opportunity. She quickly launched a wellness app, The Whole Pantry, complete with vegan recipes, lifestyle guides, and a grocery shopping list function. And within a month, it hit #1 in the App Store. On Facebook, Gibson wrote, I've been healing a severe and malignant brain cancer for the past few years with natural medicine, Gerson therapy, and foods. It's working for me, and I'm grateful to be here sharing this journey with over 70,000 people worldwide. By year's end, The Whole Pantry was named the second best iPhone app in the world. Gibson received a coveted invitation to adapt her app for the Apple Watch and won Cosmopolitan's Fun Fearless Female Award. Between app profits and her book advance, she had soon earned over $500,000, much of which she pledged to donate to charitable causes. Her ostensible generosity would ultimately be her downfall. But even as she was buying a BMW and having her teeth cosmetically straightened, Gibson was always #suffering. In July of 2014, she announced on Facebook that she had been diagnosed with cancer in her blood, spleen, brain, uterus, and liver. At her son's 4th birthday party, she had a violent seizure, terrifying friends and family. Despite this, Gibson pressed on expanding her business, planning a kid-centric wellness app and a retail kitchen and kiosk to serve healthy meals in hospitals. Hundreds of thousands of followers marveled at her bravery and prayed for her to kick cancer's butt, sweetheart. The only catch? Because there's always a catch. Her entire empire was based on a not-so-itty-bitty lie. This lady so did not have cancer. Unlike most other forms of the disease, the prognosis for surviving brain cancer hasn't improved since radiation started being used as a treatment in the 1980s. 2/3 of all patients with invasive cancers survive for 5 years. Less than 1/4 of brain cancer patients have the same luck, as reporters Bo Donnelly and Nick Toscano note in their book on Belle Gibson. Brain cancer patients suffer tremendously, experiencing symptoms like intense vomiting, paralysis, and memory problems. Gibson, on the other hand, was the picture of health and glamour as she traveled from Los Angeles to Bali to Tokyo meetings with Apple executives, promoting her business and partying with socialites. All the while, she was dishing out extreme bullshit health advice to her devoted fan base, many of whom were battling serious illnesses, including cancer. By the time rumors started reaching reporters at Melbourne newspaper The Age that a health influencer was faking cancer, Gibson's inner circle had become suspicious. Her assistant noticed that she would do things like post about going to an oncology appointment when she was actually getting her veneers done. 2 friends confronted her directly, asking for a single scrap of evidence. She responded that she didn't keep medical documents at her house because they brought too much negative energy. And at this point, her longtime romantic partner, who she never let accompany her to doctor's appointments, was referring to Belle's cancer as a fucking joke. Reporters Donnelly and Toscano were intrigued by all of these rumors, but extremely cautious.
We were hoping to write an initial article which would have said something like, there are doubts about Belle Gibson's diagnosis, but none of her friends who we were speaking to at that point were prepared to speak on the record.
They had a prominent oncologist examine Gibson's claims, and he declared them totally implausible, but wouldn't go on record. A well-regarded brain surgeon agreed, saying her story didn't add up. And it wasn't long before 5 other people in Gibson's orbit told reporters much of the same thing. One of Belle's friends described her lifestyle as a cancer patient as being very, very strange. She was known to do things excessively like tanning and binge drinking, which is not something cancer patients do. None of these people were willing to be named in this story, so the lawyers at The Age nixed it. But the intrepid reporters found a different angle. Gibson's claims about her charitable donations, which seemed to vary based on her mood. She claimed to have given away $300,000 and said she was donating 25% of company profits. At one promotional appearance, she claimed that a mind-boggling 95% of her app's proceeds went to charity. And one week, on social media, she promised 100% of app proceeds would go towards paying medical bills for a 5-year-old brain cancer patient. The reporters called each charity that Gibson named. Most of them hadn't even heard of her, much less received a donation, though one of them had logged a $1,000 donation from Gibson's romantic partner. It's one thing to publish a story speculating someone's health status. It's another to prove they've defrauded their beneficiaries and their fan base. The reporters emailed Gibson with a list of questions on subjects ranging from her prognosis to her charitable donations. Gibson immediately made a $1,000 donation to a girls' education fund before replying with a series of nonsensical claims that her business was operating at a loss, that she had given loads of money away, though she provided no evidence, and that she still had plans to give away even more. Then she blamed a previous employee for failing to keep up communications with her charities of choice. In March of 2015, The Age published their article with the explosive findings that Gibson's company had donated a mere $7,000. Gibson and her community responded immediately and aggressively, defending her and blaming the cynical mainstream media for tainting their hero's halo. The whole pantry made a Facebook post demanding that the article be retracted, but public opinion was about to shift, and fast. The next day, the Australian newspaper announced mega blogger Belle Gibson cast doubt on her own cancer claims. A savvy reporter interviewing Gibson had gotten her to do the unimaginable, admit that she may have been misdiagnosed. The fallout was immediate, and Belle's "I may have faked my cancer" bell would never be unrung. The whole pantry announced that Gibson was stepping down as company manager and returning to traditional cancer treatments. And Gibson got real busy wiping her entire social media presence and hiring a defamation lawyer. But she wasn't the only one who would fall from grace. 6 months earlier, in preparation for her book's release, her publisher Penguin had done publicity prep with Gibson, trying to preemptively prepare media-savvy answers to questions about her extraordinary claims. But Gibson squirmed as she failed to explain her life story, her prognosis, and her current treatment plan. Penguin employees had harbored doubts about her story for months, and her performance did very little to assure them. But the next month, Penguin published her book, The Whole Pantry, which contained over 80 gluten, refined sugar, and dairy-free recipes. Priced at only $35, it sold 16,000 copies almost immediately. Soon after, Gibson's house of cards collapsed, and Penguin was fined $30,000 for misleading and deceptive conduct.
In an unprecedented action, her publisher Penguin has already been fined $30,000 for not checking Gibson's claims of cancer and a miracle cure that were a major selling point in her cookbook.
Even worse, it was forced to publicly admit that it had failed to fact-check a single claim Gibson made, a humiliating revelation for such a reputable publishing house. But Gibson's most prominent supporter, Apple, took a different approach, removing her app from their store, distancing themselves from their former protege, and never saying a fucking word about the whole being complicit in promoting a cancer scam thing. Gibson was now the internet's villain of the week. The month? The decade? Perhaps lured by a $75,000 appearance fee, she gave an absolutely disastrous interview on 60 Minutes.
You had 3 heart operations, you suffered 2 cardiac arrests, you died twice on the operating table, you had a stroke, and you were diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumour and given 4 months to live.
I still have the heart condition, and I was supposed to have surgery for that.
You were supposed to have surgery.
And I didn't.
And why did you tell people that you had 3 surgeries?
At the time, I think going back, I was late teens, and I was going through a lot of emotional trauma.
I had surgery about 7 hours ago. The doctor comes in and tells me the draining failed and I went into cardiac arrest and died for just under 3 minutes. I had the most intense bruising from the paddles when they electrocuted me back to consciousness. Procedure failed and I died.
See, I haven't read back through all of that.
She argued that she had truly believed that she had cancer due to a misdiagnosis by a sham doctor. But her bullshittery by Belle trademark just simply didn't work anymore.
I just didn't expect it to unravel quite so much. I just didn't expect there to be no real answers to even the most simple question.
Her con job was prominent enough to attract the attention of Victoria's Consumer Affairs Department, who asked Gibson to come in for questioning. I didn't know you could do this, but she refused. The department filed civil charges against her for misleading, deceptive, and unconscionable conduct. She refused to participate in the trial. Then she was fined $410,000. Then she refused to pay up. At the time the Netflix series about her story debuted, Victorian authorities told The Guardian that they still won't let up on their quest to recoup the fines that she owes. Gibson has claimed that she was in no financial position to pay a single penny, and authorities have raided her home not once, but twice. Incredibly, Gibson has never publicly apologized for any of this. The only thing she's ever been consistent about is staying committed to her shamelessness and a good grift. In 2017, she was active on Snapchat, telling her followers that she planned to start a dating app. Even stranger, Gibson had apparently joined Melbourne's Ethiopian Oromo community. She appeared in a video in Ethiopian attire, going by the name Sobantu, and referring to Ethiopia as her, quote, home. The Oromo community quickly disavowed any connection. Experts have speculated that Gibson might suffer from mental illnesses like borderline personality disorder or Munchausen syndrome, which is a mental condition where people fabricate having an illness for attention or care. But all of that is impossible to know without a proper diagnosis. And unless she decides to come out and tell us why she did what she did, we'll probably never know. But even if she did tell us, how the fuck could we believe her? What makes Gibson such a uniquely scummy scammer is that she targeted the most desperate group of people imaginable. Real people facing deadly cases of cancer. A doctor cited in Donnelly and Toscano's book explained that cancer patients are often willing to try even the most dubious treatments, hoping that one silver bullet will make them the exception to these tragic statistics. Gibson used false hope to exploit these people in her pursuit of power, fame, and a whole lot of money. We live in a world increasingly defined by our online presence, where well-lit photos and quippy personal branding trumps substance in everything from politics to celebrity. Health is no exception, and the growing community of wellness influencers seem to garner more trust than cold hard science. And it kind of makes sense. It's pretty easy and a lot more convenient to believe outrageous claims about the healing power of apple cider vinegar. But if something sounds way too good to be true, it probably is. And if it can't fix a narcissist like Gibson, it probably can't cure cancer.